Maddie, welcome to you and to the rest of our listeners, watchers, attendees, UMortgage denizens, and our partners and friends who are joining us as well. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a fantastic Father's Day weekend. Really looking forward to the Monday market update. Last week was full of exciting market moving news, and that affected our day to day, affects how our customers view the world, view the market, and view their decisions. So excited to dive into that with you guys today. But before we do that, how was your Father's Day, Daddy-O?
My Father's Day was phenomenal. I went and played golf. My 15-year-old recently got into golf. My 11-year-old came along to drive the cart and help with clubs and just enjoy the beautiful weather. So great day on the golf course. Then we stopped by my dad's house, who can no longer golf, but he's a big golf fan. And I'm telling you, like, there's something cool about seeing how happy it makes my dad to hear my son talk about golf. And another funny thing, you don't realize it until you're older, that like you slowly become your dad. And so I'm on the golf course with my son and I'm like, pick it up, set it down. And then I'm yelling at the ball, bite, bite, bite. I'm literally like saying the things that I heard as a kid with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun, dude.
It's crazy how much I hear myself like just like laugh, and like the way I laugh and like stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I sound just like my dad. Well, hopefully you didn't miss any big putts yesterday.
You know what? I did all right, but I don't. Do you watch golf?
I do. I mean, I know enough to know that Rory McIlroy missed out on winning the major, the U.S. Open, right?
For those that want the quick recap, he didn't miss any. They play 4 rounds of 18 holes, so he had 72 holes of golf where he didn't miss any putts that were less than 5 feet for the first 69 holes, and then in the last 3 holes, he missed a 3-foot 9-incher and a 2.5-foot putt. Lost the U.S. Open by 1 stroke. Granted, winners $4.3 million, and the second place gets 2.5. Like he's still going to be okay, but I would imagine it's got to be super frustrating. Golf is probably one of the most frustrating things of all time. I told my 15-year-old, I was like, Ryan, it's frustrating all the time. You're going to hit one shot and you're going to fall in love all over again. And that's like,
I don't know, man. I'm not set up that way. That's why I don't play golf. I can't afford that. Like I'm too prone to overvalue frustrating things and undervalue satisfying things. So I don't think so I try to avoid those frustrating things as much as possible.
Cool. How was your Father's Day, man?
It was good. I have no children, so besides my dogs, who treated me well, I must say. But yeah, fantastic. Got some running in, had got some reading in. Went to Costco, as mentioned in the green room earlier when we were preparing. So all in all, a very relaxing weekend. Last week was not so relaxing in the market, but it was satisfying. We got some numbers in coming after a jobs report the prior week that kind of left us all reeling as a result of the like 272,000 jobs created supposedly. Really that is one of the core things that the Fed looks at when it comes to how they're going to set their interest rate decisions. That being said, CPI came in last week, nice and light. CPI is one of it's the headline inflation metric that we use to measure inflation. I think CPI itself came in at 3.3 versus an expectation of 3.4, and then core CPI came in at 3.4 versus 3.5, still a bit off the Fed's preferred 2%, or what they say is preferred. Now, speaking of preferred, the Fed does have a preferred inflation metric called PCE that actually comes out next week, and that measure is at 2.7, so a lot closer to that 2.0 that they're targeting. That being said, the market really appreciated that. Also, initial jobless claims were higher. More people didn't have jobs, which the market sort of in a sort of morbid fashion celebrated with lower interest rates as well. And we've also seen this the equities market sort of continue to stay strong. If you guys are invested in stocks, it still continues to be very strong, mostly buoyed by Apple, Nvidia, and like Amazon, Tesla. What do you make of it all, Matt?
Well, like you said, for mortgage bonds, for mortgage interest rates, for what people that are most likely following more than anything else, it was a good week. And the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, where people can look at Mortgage News Daily and kind of get a feel of what things are roughly at. Although I think it's a little bit rosy of an average, and it kind of accounts for somebody with really great credit, probably paying a point and a half. Like that 30-year fix that's kicked up and down above 7% for at least a month, ticked back below 7% again last month, and I think it was 6.98 on Wednesday of last week, 6.97 on Thursday, and then 6.99 on Friday. So a little bit of rate relief for those folks that are looking for lower interest rates because of affordability. One thing I will add too is I listen to the Jerome Powell press conferences, but I, like most, and I'm going to be brutally honest here, Sean.
Oh, finally.
Have found other things that are more interesting to do than listen to nerds talk about nerd stuff. And so to kind of summarize everything he said, yes, we're headed down. Inflation's headed down, but no, we're not there yet. So this rates higher for longer thing is like, it's almost guaranteed. And the things that you can take out of it, I think, that are positives for people that are worried about mortgage interest rates, they're really, right there on the brink of affordability, is a lot of people I'm listening to that are smart think that peak mortgage rates are behind us. But I would not expect mortgage interest rates to go down very much, very fast. They went from 6 rate cuts this year to 3. Now it's looking more like 1. And so I don't know, like the bow I'm going to put on this thing is the more conversations I have with people, the more I realize, like, don't let buying decisions, don't let, the timing of which you buy your house depend on these things you don't have control over, right? When you're ready financially, you've got your ducks in a row, is when you buy. Don't time whether it's 6.84, 7.03. Those things are out of your control. And quite honestly, they're not going to move that much in the next 12 months in my eyes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when you see the Case-Shiller index, the measure of home prices in the U.S. In the 2020 the biggest metro areas going up by 7%, and you see mortgage interest rate at 7%. I know this is kind of like sort of like dumb math. It doesn't actually like work out perfectly, but I think it's a pretty good analog. It's like you're going to earn back in equity the amount of money you pay in interest just by being in the house there, and then you get that number slowly spreads, right, as your mortgage balance reduces and your value goes up, like the spread between your mortgage balance and how much your house is worth actually like goes up at an increasing rate. But my mind is like, if home values are only going up 2 or 3%, yeah, maybe it makes sense to wait a little bit. But we've seen no sign of them slowing down. And I mean, like, it's just, and we know it's not like a bubble, right? There may be some limited areas of the country where like there is a bubble, or honestly where there was a bubble. Like if you look at like downtown San Francisco or something like that. But yeah, we clearly, you and I both do mortgages. We know how difficult. It's not like it was in 2008, where it's like, oh, the issue was one, singular people owned multiple houses, and that was problematic. Now it's like, I mean, you and I know how hard it is. Not how hard, but like the burden of proof for documenting whether or not somebody can afford to buy a house right now is so ridiculously high. It's like they're not going to be able to sneak into like the second one, right? Like if it's on a razor's edge to get their first house, it's not like we're like, oh,
and they're not financing 110%, and they're not coming in with 505 credit scores. I had that conversation this week about lending criteria. But one thing I wanted to add, because you were talking numbers, and I love me some numbers, is that like there's something to that. Like as home prices continue to appreciate, it might be 1% one year, but 6% the next year. Over time, home prices appreciate. And so really the real estate game is buy it and hold it. And that's how people win in real estate. I saw a stat this morning, which was pretty cool. I think it was Resi Club. The average 5-year run for real estate, if you take it in 5-year increments over the last 30 or 40 years, is 26%. Now, you and I know, Sean, that somebody goes out and buys a $500,000 house, they don't pay with cash. So if you assume that somebody puts 20% down on a home that they purchase, the average 5-year return, since you're leveraging it and you have a 5x multiple, is 130%, right? And so it's going to be hard to beat that regardless of interest rate. Like you wait 2 years and the interest rate goes down 0.75%. Like, do you think you're better off than if you bought back there and got a bigger piece of this 130%?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, when you think about the fact that brokerages, like stock brokerages, offer interest rates on leverage at 5 to 7% right now, but the leverage is maybe 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. But when you're a first time home buyer and you buy a house and you put 5% down, right? I mean, that's crazy. It's 20x leverage. Obviously carrying costs are significantly higher for a house than a stock. You don't have to pay for electricity for your air conditioner on your stock. But you also don't get to live
in hot water heaters that break. And
yeah, exactly. But you also don't get to live inside your stock. So there's a utility cost here. We're getting deep into like the sort of like the various hidden costs and values of the economics of home ownership that I find fascinating, right? It's not just an investment, because the payoff is you get to live somewhere, which is huge. So there's a value to that. All super fascinating stuff. But let's talk about for a moment. Well, let's go through this real quick, actually, and then we'll chat about actually finding people to get into homes. Just a quick recap of the upcoming Fed meetings, the expectations from traders, the probabilities of an easing or hiking of interest rates for the July. Now, this is based on the averages of what traders think are going to happen based on how they're trading. Pretty using future swaps and stuff like that.
You think a 1 in 10 shot here of a rate cut in July is?
I want to these are my people. The 10% people, like I love them. I want to hang out with them. Like these are the optimistic people that I'm like, I want to surround myself with.
Guys like Matt Gougé.
They're wrong, but
they're fun.
But they're fun. They're happy. They're looking forward to things. They want They want what's best. They're optimists. Like I love them. They're 100% wrong. There's not going to be a rate reduction in July. 0% chance. Take it off the board. But do find these people and invite them to your cookouts. For September, which is the following one, there's not a meeting in August. You see that the number of people who think there's going to be no change is reduced significantly down to 37.7%. Now that's a big change from a week ago when it was at 45.1%. So you're actually seeing this. Wait, sorry, it was at 49.9%. So it's a big reduction from the prior week. So the new CPI data and the initial jobless claims is doing some work for us. You see the chance of reduction here was at 45.1% last week. Now it's at 56.3%. So that's increased by 10%. And then you don't want to hang out with these people. The 6% of people who think there's going to be 2 rate cuts in the next 2
totally
meetings.
Crazy. They're wild.
Yeah, it's like the optimism was one thing, like smoking crack is another thing. Like you just can't.
This is the person who does like the 10-person football parlay and they think it's got a shot, right?
Yeah. Exactly. They're like, if this just lands, we'll never have to work a day in our life again, Barb. That's
right. Yeah. $20 bet. I just got to get 10 football bets correct. Those are some pretty sick stories though. When they go from 9 for 10.
Yeah. Oof, rough. So anyway, yeah, not going to happen. I think this is still overly optimistic. I don't think that there's going to be a reduction in September. And then you've got what is this? November. So 23% of people think that there will be no change. That's down from 33.9. And then you got 50% of people think it'll be 1 reduction. I think that's correct. I think this is the time that it happens. I think the November meeting. 25% of people think 2 reductions. And then here we go. Like just the absolute loons. I mean, who's thinking there's going to be 3 reductions?
This is beyond a parlay. This is like people that believe in aliens.
I think that the possibility, I don't want to really get too deep into this, Matt. I think the possibility that aliens exist far exceeds the possibility that this is going to happen.
Yeah, maybe. I
would put aliens at like, probably. I would put this at like
5%.
yeah, I'd be like, 1 in 20 chance that aliens exist. Yeah, absolutely. The chance that there's going to be 3 interest rate reductions in the next 3 Fed meetings. Yeah, you are the alien. This is the aliens voting.
Right.
They just don't understand.
That one right there. Oh no, I'm looking in December. Because then you can find the 4 pack, right?
There is a 4. Wow. I mean,
yeah. Well, you know what I was looking at, Sean? I'm sorry to skip ahead, but I looked at December, and I was looking at like 42.8% says the range is at 2 cuts. So we're still 2 cuts for 2024 is still the favorite as far as like these numbers go and traders go.
Sure.
For the year.
Yeah, so 2 cuts is 42.8, 3 cuts is 18.6. Yeah, so 2 plus cuts is currently at 60+%. Man, I just feel like people just want to get their heart broken. I don't really understand it, man. It's like
if you had to pick any range, I think that this is one thing we might agree with because I'm more optimistic than you in general. I think 1 to 2 cuts. If you had to pick a 2 cut range, is got to be like very, very probable.
I think two's definitely a possibility. I could see November and December, but
so if I gave you 2 numbers, you had to have 2 numbers. You would go 0 to 1 for the year versus 1 to 2.
Well, no, 1 to 2 seems way safer.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Because you still get 1 is almost definite, and yeah, I mean,
0 is too pessimistic.
Yeah. I don't want to be, but I mean, here's my thing: is like the longer rates stay up here, the better for me, right? Like I'm surrounded, like it's better for UMortgage. It's better for like, as far as like, I think that customers get a better deal during difficult times because only professionals stay in their position. So, like, 3 months from now, right? I mean, if it stays high, like you're going to continue to see people sort of wash out of the industry. And like, while I hate that for them, it's like easy money kind of invited a lot of people into the industry that like didn't really do the work, plant the seeds, set down the roots, and really get ready for like being actual expert advisors to their clients. And so like I'm, the longer it stays high, the better it is for me, the better it is for clients, the better it is for UMortgage, because like there's just going to be a higher level of professionalism in the field. And I think that is sorely needed in real estate and mortgages. Agree?
Yeah, I can get on board with that, because I think you're right. You're going to have higher level advisor and a better professional you work with on the real estate and the mortgage side. And there's no doubt that anytime you're buying anything, the less competition you have, the harder it is, the better deal you're going to get. Inviting more competition and more demand on the buy side is not going to help you if you're looking for the best deal on something. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Well, buddy, I always want to be giving great market advice and framework and context to folks, but one of the things in order to spread that is you have to have clients, Maddie. And speaking of being that expert, one of the things we talked about last week on one of our daily sales huddles was keeping it super simple when it came to prospecting. Everybody's out there buying lists or investing in all the public data and stuff like that. But like, what's your approach to keeping it simple when it comes to like finding your next person to help?
You know what? I've done this, I think, my whole career, and I think that I'm getting better at it. I want to be talking to as many people as possible, as many real estate conversations as possible, adding as much value as possible without keeping score, or without, being overly concerned about like, which of these is going to be a transaction, which of these is going to get into contract. If you look right now, I've got this pipe drive software that just reminds me, hey, you told John you'd call him back in July to kind of check in. They just had a baby. Their rent, lease doesn't end until October, but check in, talk to them, see where they're at, maybe freshen up a pre-approval. I've got 268 people that I'm talking to right now in this system.
That's crazy.
And by having that amount of volume, I don't feel like I've got to be a high pressure salesman because I'm only talking to 7 people. One of these 7 people's got to get in a contract. Like that's never how I've done it. And like, this isn't a super complex system. And I think that's where loan officers and realtors get bogged down, is they're like, I've got to have a system in place that sends email updates, that does this, that does all these things. All it's going to tell me is when I go to my activities and I look at like, what do I have to do today? Well, I've tasked this in the past. Check in with Stephen and Emily. Call, text, and email Maxwell Adams. Oh, I shouldn't have said full name here, but that's all right.
There's a lot of Maxwell Adamses out there. Hopefully.
Yeah, good thing. And have you talked to this person yet? Has this person inquired about the possibility of selling and buying? What's that conversation going to look like? And so I'm in a position where if I have 20 of these conversations a day, it's going to turn into business. But what real estate and mortgage professionals have to remember is now more than ever, you're going to talk to somebody, and between the first conversation you have and them getting into contract to buy a piece of real estate, it continues to get longer. Where before 2021, oh, my cousin told me she just bought a house and she got a 2.65 interest rate. Like, I'm interested. Pre-approved on Wednesday, submitting offers on Thursday, in contract Friday. That no longer exists. Now it's talk to you in 22, get pre-approved in 23, and buy in 24. Right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's totally flipped on its head. And during like the COVID era, it was like you had to find a reason not to buy a house. Like there were too many reasons going in your favor, right? Like people's credit scores were better because they'd gotten stimulus checks and paid off their bills. They had more cash because they'd gotten stimulus checks, and the job market was red hot. A lot of people were working 2 jobs from their house. Interest rates were essentially like banks were paying you to buy a house. values had certainly gone up, but they hadn't gone up as much as they had now. So it was like, oh, you had to find a reason not to buy a house. Like you had to really talk yourself out of it. Now it's like you got to find a reason too. Like it's difficult. There's a lot of headwinds, the interest rates, values, debts piling up, stuff like that. So I'm 100% with you. So it definitely is a longer, you gotta,
it's a longer nurture. And like you said, it's going to be specific people that have a reason where, it might even be even stronger than they want to move. It's like they have to move. Mm-hmm. There's a job change. They need more room because, they just had their third kid. But whatever the case, you as a professional would not know if you were only trying to fish in a small pond of like, who's submitting an offer this weekend, right? Like,
right. You gotta widen. You gotta be talking to people and making sure they know your loan officers. Man, I remember my biggest failures during 2020 and 2021 when I'd refied somebody that went to my church, and then like a year later, so that was like sort of middle of 2020. A year later, I saw they bought a house, and I was like, oh, who'd you use for your mortgage or whatever? I don't know. It came up, and I wasn't mean about it. I wasn't like, why didn't you use me? But like at some point in the conversation, they were like, oh, I didn't know you did purchases. I thought you just did refinances. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a horrible loan officer. Like I didn't stay in front of you. I didn't let you know what like the value proposition is. I didn't educate you about anything. Like that other loan officer deserved the deal. I let you down. I just figured because we knew each other, you would know as much about me as I know about me, which is not true.
Right.
Only my mom knows about as much about me as I know about me.
Yeah. So I enjoy it. And I think that's something like you mentioned earlier, the true pros are going to stick around. The true pros are going to be standing when, some of these stats of like 76% of the mortgage volume, got zapped over the last couple of years. But what I'm going to continue to do is find reasons to have real estate conversations, add value. You're in contract for a new build. You've got to use the builder's lenders. Cool. Let me help you. Let me answer a few questions. Because guess what? 3 years from now, you might be in a position to refinance. Or this coming November, when you're at Thanksgiving with your family, you might be like, you know what? I bought this house. The builder's lender offered a $20K incentive, but I talked to Matt. He was valuable. Like if you're buying something resale, and you're not like kind of forced by that, mafia that forced you to use the in-house lender, like give him a call. I've got more referrals, Sean, from people that didn't use me on a new build because I lead with in 8 out of 10 scenarios, you're probably gonna be incentivized to the point where the builder's lender makes sense.
Yeah. You're like, I'm valuable, but I'm not like $25,000 of seller credits valuable.
Exactly.
Like I'm pretty valuable. Like
right.
12 to 13,000 maybe.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like as a broker, we're priced $9,500 better than them, but with a $15K incentive, they still lead by $5,500. So you got to put up the fact they're not that good. You'll be fine. I'll hold your hand. I'll lead you through that. Cause I know that by doing that, you're going to refer your cousin. You're going to call the professional back when it comes time for the next transaction. And so it's a long game for a lot of people. So anybody in it for short, quick money has left, right? And the pros are here. So I guess the call to action, if you're a loan officer, if you're a real estate agent listening, stay in touch with people, add value to people over the long term. You never know. It might be that you've talked to this person for 15 months, 18 months, and something in their life changed and now it's time to buy. Or something in their life didn't change, but they just talked to somebody at work and they go, you know what? I just talked to Emily. She's actually in the process of getting herself pre-approved. She wants to buy. Can I connect you with her? And then on my side, I go, can you? Well, of course you can. I'm happy to help. Right. And so,
yeah. I think also don't forget to ask, do you know anybody who's looking to buy a house right now? I mean, I think that's like this like sales technique that was like, felt kind of scammy for like write down 5 people that you would refer to me that like car salespeople make you do. But like, if you just ask like, hey, is anybody else, looking for home buying wisdom, advice, anything like that?
Well, I've got something that I've done. And for anybody who's in, quote unquote sales, even though we don't feel most of the time like we're salespeople, at the end of the day, we kind of are. Here's something that makes it more natural for me. I always look for them to compliment and say something nice. Thank you so much. You were great. And at that moment, I go, thank you. I really enjoy this stuff. You know anybody else I can help?
Yeah.
Because that to me, for whatever reason, it feels authentic and natural to me when somebody goes, man, thank you so much. And I realize like my passion around helping people get into homes, my passion around, mortgage and crunching numbers and solving, it is valuable to other people. And so when they thank me for it, I remind them like, I love this shit all day, every day. It's all I do. So if you know anybody who I can help with this, passion and skill that I have, let me know.
100%. That's great. I love that. I love that. Well, Matt, it's been another Monday, another half hour of fun and wisdom and all around tomfoolery and good times. It's been wonderful. Thank you guys for joining. Always feel free to drop questions in the comments of this video, and when we don't get to them on the particular video you're watching, we'll answer them next week. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week as well. Matt, I hope you have a great one. I'll see you around the virtual halls of UMortgage, buddy.
I shall. All right. Have a great week. Thanks, Sean.
See you, buddy.
Later.